Hello, YouTube. I want to play a game. Okay, well, that helped to set the mood. Now down to business. A real goodie this time around. Saw 3D. It's the final film in the series. Another major marketing ploy for this one is that it's shown in 3D, hence the title, Saw 3D. Now, the makers claim to have given it this title so as to create a full impact. BAM! Basically, they wanted to make it clear that this was a different experience altogether. Anyway, those of you who are familiar with this franchise should already know what to expect. But for those of you who have not followed it up to this point, it's pretty intense. At their core, the films are really psychological thrillers. They mess with your head. As far as the story goes, as you can well imagine, that by the 7th installment of any franchise, especially one like this where all the plots, characters, and events are so intricately intertwined, it's really hard not to talk too much about it without giving too much away. For a basic plot summary, you can simply go to the film's website or IMDb. The film stars returning actors Tobin Bell as John Kramer, Costas Mandylor as Detective Mark Hoffman, Betsy Russell as Jill Tuck, as well as a newcomer to the franchise, Sean Patrick Flannery, who plays Bobby Dagan, a self-help guru who's been meeting with other Jigsaw survivors. Not to mention, it finally has Cary Elwes returning to the franchise as Dr. Lawrence Gordon from the original film. That's right, we finally find out what happened to Dr. Gordon. Not to mention that this film features appearances from many supporting actors from the previous films in the franchise. More than any other Saw film to date. It's hot in here. So, with that, let's get on to the pros and the cons. Pros! My first pro would be a pretty prominent aspect of the film, which of course would be the 3D. Woo! Seriously though, I felt that this was very well done, especially since this wasn't the usual 3D transfer process. This one was actually filmed in 3D. It serves to add a lot of depth and detail to the picture. I feel that that's the way 3D should be done, the good kind. Also, there's no real cheesy pop-out 3D. Oh, so you're not seeing, like, guts flying at the camera all the time. There are a couple scenes where we do see some blood kind of go flying, but it doesn't go directly at the audience. It really veers off to the side. Now, I think my second pro would have to be the story. I mean, seeing as this is the last one in the series, the writers, Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton, as well as the director, Kevin Greuter, they really had to be careful with this one. And I mean, they don't want to let fans down, and they can't really make it up after this. It really works to tie up all the major loose ends in the series, all those plot points that hadn't previously been resolved, especially the whole Dr. Gordon thing, which people have just been arguing about since the beginning. But I really feel that they catered to the fans on this one. Also, what may come as a bit of a surprise to a lot of people is that even though this is the 7th in the series, a lot of the plot points in this one actually do a good job of standing on their own without having to have the previous films to support them. It will help a lot if you see all the previous films, but even so, a lot of the characters' motivations in this one are made very clear. Obviously, it doesn't spend a lot of time developing the old characters, but that brings me to my next pro. The characters and their development. As the series has gone on and certain returning characters have become more and more developed, we've gotten to learn more and more about them. Our perspectives of them have really changed over time, at least mine have. And I feel the same is for a lot of Saw fans. Of course, by this time, we've gotten to learn so much about Jigsaw himself that it wasn't really necessary to have a lot of development for him. We don't really get to see a whole lot of him in this film because all that was really necessary for him was to establish a relationship and connection to new characters. I found that that worked very well, even though he had limited screen time. In fact, the same is for Dr. Gordon. He doesn't get a whole lot of screen time in this one, but we do get to see a different side to him. Their scenes stick out a lot, at least in my opinion. Of course, Costas Mandylor and Betsy Russell do a very good job with what they're given to. Relationships are established and their motivation becomes all the more clear because of it. As for Sean Patrick Flannery, basically the new guy in town in this one, he's well developed. He does a good job with what he's given. He actually gets a lot to work with. He gets a lot of screen time. His motivation and backstory are definitely made clear, as well as a couple of relationships to other characters. Granted, a couple of his scenes do seem a bit too dramatic at times. I think he's making it sound dramatic intentionally. I'm not sure I can really say the same for Chad Donella. He plays another cop in this film, and some of his lines seem a little hammy at times, but I think it's more his voice. And my final pro would almost certainly have to be the traps. The traps have been creative in the past. This one, they are just insane. I don't want to sound sick or anything, but it's just impressive the way they design these things. Without giving away spoilers, I would say that one trap that definitely sticks out in my mind is in an early scene where it's pretty much put on display for a crowd of people. It really gives the whole wow factor in there, and it definitely adds to the intensity. Cons. My first con really links up to my last pro because the traps, while amazing in their design, they do really stretch the limits of reality at this point in their complexity. Could they be constructed in real life? Of course. The crew really did construct them in real life. But within the confines of the story in that universe, it goes a little bit too far, especially when you consider all the resources and time that it would take to actually construct all of those. This guy works pretty fast. Personally, I'm just going to give this the benefit of the doubt for now, because I can really forgive that, given the presentation and design. My second flaw for others, definitely, it is very violent and often includes a lot of strong language. Not for kiddies. Though the gore has always been depicted as realistic, there is definitely no shortage of blood in this one. So if you have a weak stomach, you'll probably want to stay away. My third con, which I actually brought up earlier, despite the good acting from the main cast, a couple of the supporting actors kind of hammed up their performance a little bit. This might be blamed on the writing or the actors themselves. Like I said, Chad Donella, I mean, he's kind of comedic in his presentation. I don't think it's really a big deal, but it's not perfect. And for my final con, the length. 91 minutes. This was initially disappointing to me because I really wanted the story to be done justice, and I'm not sure a length like that could really do it, but I guess I was wrong. It wraps everything up very nicely, especially the ending. I was hoping it'd be like 15 to 20 minutes longer. There's always the director's cut, even though they've never been extended by more than 5 minutes, but I can dream. And speaking of the ending, it is emotional. It does come up pretty suddenly, though not like a whole out of left field kind of thing. Your left is my right. It may even have a few longtime fans jumping with joy. Whee! Not to mention the fact that towards the end of the film, one classic trap does make a reappearance. So to sum things up, despite the high level of violence, incredibly complex traps, maybe some hammy dialogue, I overall found this film to be incredibly enjoyable as a true Saw fan, and I find that many avid Saw fans will really be happy with this one. Even if they did decide to make an 8th one, it would pretty much defeat the purpose of the way this one ended, and I don't think they would really have enough to make a feature-length film. So as a true Saw fan, I would give this one at least 9 out of 10. Well, I'm gonna go appreciate my life a little more. See ya.